Darryl Haberman, welcome to Sports Management Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Marcus.
It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. You are the founder of Haberman Digital, and you have 20 years of experience in the sports industry. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Right. So yeah, Haberman Consulting is the company. Haberman Digital is the domain. There's apparently several Habermans that consult. So when I started my business about 2.5 years ago, I had to go with Haberman Digital as my domain because I do a lot of digital media content strategy. I'm a fractional COO and have done close to 25 years now in the sports media marketing industry.
That's really interesting. And you mentioned there that you say fractional COO. What does that mean, actually?
So I have a few different ventures. As a fractional C-suite executive, I can really work on a couple of different ventures simultaneously. So fractional just really is a fancy word for part-time. But on any given week, I could be devoting 20 to 40 hours on one project. But when I work fractional, certainly with some of my retained relationships, each week or month presents a little bit different matrix for my bandwidth. But again, fractional is really more. I could do a third to this, a third to that, and complete the rest of the puzzle with a different venture. So I'm not really spending full amount of my time each week on one opportunity, one business, one client.
Got it. So you started your company in August of 2021 after working for some really big companies, NHL, Disney, so forth. So what made you want to start your own business?
Well, after spending 22 plus years, I knew I was really about halfway through my business journey. I had spent, as you mentioned, time in corporate America, being part of some reorgs, learning, and being blessed to be part of some talented companies and stakeholders. What I wanted to do was really leverage my expertise and start diving more into business development, get back to some of the fundamentals that help build the foundations of new businesses, ones that were really thinking about the future and getting better connected to audiences. So I knew I was advising within the corporate world for over 2 decades. I could certainly start doing more consulting and think about where opportunities might take me. The startup world fascinates me, and I've had the good fortune of making some good partners and being part of some new initiatives with in the last 2+ years since I started back in August of 2021.
Yeah. And one company that you're working with is the SaaS platform Rikodi, right?
Yes.
That's a really interesting one. So can you talk a little bit about that one?
Oh, certainly. Thanks, Marcus. Rikodi is all about preserving the memories, the stories that each fan has, and having the teams and athletes, even sports venues, leverage those in a wide variety of ways to kind of gate the experience and really develop more collaborative opportunities with the fans that eat, sleep, and breathe sport. Everyone has a cell phone. Everyone probably has a good amount of content on their cell phones of videos of games, whether they're in the venue or their kids playing sports, their man caves, if they're proud about that, autograph collections, you name it. There's really a treasure trove of content on people's phones, and that's not going away. In fact, obviously, we've seen a lot of new smart technology and integrations that everything could be done in one or two clicks. So what we want to do with Rikodi is build better revenue streams, and have the teams work smarter, not harder, by actually using the user-generated content that each fan possesses. If there's a content creator, an influencer in the crowd, they'll probably already doing a podcast, a blog. They're already proud supporter of a team. But if there's ways to actually utilize this on behalf of a team and partner together, it's going to make things a little bit more sticky. Plus, with AI, there's a great ability to use the content and get some great insights around the kinds of photos, the kinds of experiences, the things that the community's talking about, whether they're attending a game or they're watching from their couch. So there's lots of opportunities and rewards and incentives that we've baked into this product, and we're really interested and excited on building out some other partnerships that make this a good cohesive product for tier one athletic teams, individual athletes, expos, things that are tied to sports. Obviously, there's so much connections that's going on, and there's the community building piece here that we think will resonate with lots of different folks. So yeah, that's a little bit about the SaaS platform, but we're just getting going.
Really interesting. And I read that there will be a beta test during 2023. Is that something you have started, or?
Yeah, so we're doing a closed beta right now, starting to line up some pilot partners that will be paying clients. We'll do probably a 30-day trial period with our paid pilots, build some case studies, delve into some of the feedback that we're getting, and have them really working together with us on putting together what a V1 full featured product would look like, and how they could best utilize this for their sales and marketing teams.
So let's talk about fan engagement. The fan engagement market is estimated to be a $15+ billion industry by 2028. So what are some, trends, or what is something that's really important or that someone should focus on with return in regards to fan engagement?
Well, fan engagement for today's consumer is more than just success on the field. The people want to be part of successful teams and enjoy them, but we know that success, every sport produces one winner. So what success looks like now is collaboration. How do you reward people beyond the experience? How do they profit in that experience? Can they contribute to building experiences together? Maybe they're developing a program or have some offshoot that can be beneficial to the team or the athlete, support them on some marketing initiatives. Or you and I are doing this podcast, there's the blog, there's the whole creator economy. Plus, there's the causes that people are passionate about, giving back at the grassroots level, the new sports, new opportunities. So that's really what fan engagement has become. Is it's not just like, hey, how do you win Darryl and Marcus over and have them buy a ticket to a game? It's much more than that. So a robust community where people are profiting and enjoying their time together is what fan engagement is in 2023 and into 2024, as we go towards that Web3 movement, where there's much more opportunities to collaborate and really seize opportunities within that blockchain.
Is that the biggest thing that you think will the story of 2024 with regards to fan engagement? Do you think that is Web3?
It's still getting developed, but I do see that as the big blue whale. That's really as people start doing more around digital tokenization, NFTs, they start nailing some of the ingredients on what would be a a symbiotic partnership, and putting things that aren't too outside the comfort zone. But we're still more Web 2.5 than we fully are Web 3. I'm sure people in the industry know where the road's going to go. The key is to do it and not get out of whack. Make things sustainable and comfortable for the community. But there's definitely a world of innovation and people that are talking about, augmented experiences, the AR, the VR, the how do you get more immersed? How do you dive into a platform and develop things out beyond what's possible now? And I think that Web3 movement is just getting, it's so vibrant now, and it's still, not too much is known just yet. So I think by this time next year, in 2024, there will be more gates that are opened, and people will get more of an understanding. There will be more investments that continue to get made, and it will be that brave new world.
How important is analytics for fan engagement?
Oh, it's gigantic. Everyone wants real-time analytics. They want historical data that they can leverage. But to me, it's all about, beyond a transaction, what can you learn about a fan or a team on an emotional level? That's really what's important when you're getting insights. Data right now is really tied to a lot of transactions and like how much time you're spending on a platform, but that's only half the piece. You really need to understand people's values and passions and why they're spending time on your platform.
Interesting. So we mentioned that you have your own business, but we said also you have worked in the corporate. You started at NHL in 1999, but I would like to go 1 year ahead before that. So you studied a spring semester in LA in 1998, and you did an internship for Fox Sports. So how was that? And then your journey up until where we are now.
So 1998 was great. Junior year of college. I spent the semester in LA, second semester junior year, doing an internship with Fox Sports. So I was one of, I think, about 60 students from Ithaca College that were doing really intern-based program, an intern-based program out there for the semester. So I was at Fox Sports. I have friends at the Today Show, friends doing work even with some clubs, people that were interested in breaking into TV production and movies. So we spent time in Burbank, and I commuted to the 20th Century Fox lot. I think I was there 3 times a week for my work. That was really, really neat. So my time there, I've spent a lot of time at the assignment desk, helping put together, some scripts. Spent a lot of time at the edit bay, putting some clips together. One of the more fun clips that I remember was I melted down like a whole Mario Lemieux video package. They knew that I was a big hockey fan even back then. And so I got to spend a ton of time in the edit bay, melting down like, I don't know, like 10.5 hours of Mario Lemieux footage to like the best, like 1.5 hour clip, showcasing all his triumphs, his back injuries, his cancer scare, all this other stuff. But I got to meet great people. That's when Fox Sports News had just come into being, and they thought that they could compete with Sports Center. So they Fox had then poached, I think, a couple of talented folks from not only ESPN but like Turner Sports. I think Vanner Wright was one of the hosts, and I got to meet Pete Rose, Kenny Anderson, Dale Earnhardt Sr., rest in peace. There were some sports celebrities that came around there as Fox was growing their sports footprint. But that was some of 1998. Had lots of fun, enjoyed the weather. I'm a New York guy, and that's one of the rare, 4 or 5 months of my life that I spent outside the state of New York.
Yeah. And then you moved on to work for the NHL, and you said you're a big hockey guy, so that must have been, awesome, right?
Yeah, that was great. So I always wanted to work in sports. My first job out of school was doing work for a small PR firm. Still had, thankfully, some sports clients, but when the NHL called in December of '99 and wanted to interview me, it was such a blessing. I was thrilled, and things worked out right away. Was loved my job, loved working in hockey, loved partnering with teams. I was working actually with my favorite team it still is. I grew up an Islander fan on Long Island, so the Islanders were one of 6 teams that I was helping with their digital content, their strategy on their website. They needed a little bit of extra help from their big brother, the NHL, the Penguins, the Maple Leafs, the Bruins, USA Hockey, the organization, and the Atlanta Thrashers. Remember them? But those teams in particular were one of 5 or 6 that I started helping out right away. Really from day one of my time at the NHL.
So they actually reached out to you. You didn't apply first?
Right. Thankfully, the NHL had my resume, and I essentially got a cold call one day in December '99 and said, "Hey, would you be interested in this position?" And I said yes, and I came into NHL headquarters, interviewed. Interview went well. I think within a week or two time, I was there starting my journey.
Hmm. And you stay there for about 16 years, I think?
Yes, I stayed in HQ for 16 years, but another 5.5 working with strategic partners of the NHL, Major League Baseball Advanced Media, and Disney streaming services.
Hmm. So you were the editorial director towards the end, right? So what was in the beginning? What was your role when you first got the job?
I was a assistant producer or
Hmm.
associate. It might have been associate producer, but yeah, by within the first year, I had lost that assistant title, and I was a full-on producer, managing and directing content that we were putting on just one platform. That's really before you started worrying about mobile web and tailoring content to cell phones. It's, in 1999, much different than what it looks like today, with all the platforms and social media and the streaming. It was very, very interesting to be part of the NHL, and helping guide them, through, you know, it, hitting eyeballs and monetizing on content across a treasure trove of platforms now. So yeah, the editorial programming side, that was fun working with sales and marketing teams and graphic designers, events. Everything had a touch point to NHL.com. So really building a nice cohesive yet fan engaging platform was always something that I love to do, and it was just a good marriage, a good fun opportunity to really start developing great content for a brand and a game that I had so much fun playing as a kid, and now as a business professional. To put in that strategic roadmap down on like where we needed to go, who was working on projects, the editing, all of the producing, the getting us out on multiple platforms, and doing things that were in very, very innovative at the time.
Yeah. And to your point, I mean, so much have happened on the content side. Now we talk about, short form, long form, vertical, or, horizontal, whatever. And it's podcast, blogs. And to your point, like in the beginning of the 2000s, that was a completely different story. So really cool journey for you to have been with the NHL for this time and help them to work through all of these different phases.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the beauty of being with any product or company for that long, is it's such a big life cycle, and you've gotten to take part in lots of business initiatives, the marketing, the editorial programming, the different groups of people, the new verticals, teams, the leveraging of data, as you said. I mean, we in the one of the previous topics that we covered, it's developing out the whole pipeline is a real collaborative uh, thing right now. Not right now, but it always is. It does take an army to put together some successes. And I remember doing things just as myself, and then lo and behold, now you're doing it one of 50 people, and then have these kickoff meetings, and you're describing who's handling what, and what's happening in October might be different than what November looks like, and now you're approaching these brands, and you're talking about renewal, and what the success metrics were, and what that means for the next year. So there's a whole litany of things that I was exposed to in at the NHL that I've taken with me into my consulting practice and the startup work that I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then in 2016, you moved on to Disney streaming services as director and team lead. So the streaming, the area of streaming, or streaming in general in sports, is also a really interesting topic the last couple of years. So how was those years for 5 years at Disney?
So some of that was when I was down in Chelsea working with Major League Baseball Advanced Media Disney. Disney got involved. They were minority stakeholders in that business. So the NHL, Major League Baseball, and Disney, had a vested interest to grow the NHL game and get more immersed in streaming. So yeah, the streaming space and an OTT, direct to consumer offerings. I mean, uh, uh, that was really eye opening. I was working in Major League Baseball Advanced Media at the time when they had rights to all of March Madness, so with CBS and the college basketball tournament, PGA golf, WWE. There was a good number of sports properties that were under the management of BAM at the time, and when Disney got involved and I moved over to Disney streaming services, it was more than just the NHL. I was a beta tester for Disney Plus. I started working with ESPN Plus. We had a free NHL game of the week that we were doing some cross promotion on. So helping our ad team put together some native ads and educate the fans on where to watch games, and the growth of podcasts. There was a good level of connecting the dots that was going on with some of these new products, building an audience, understanding your subscribers, price points, what people really wanted, but that progress from 2016 when I left NHL to 2022 or 2021 when I left. I mean, you're talking about 5 years of just rampant growth. It wasn't just Disney Plus. Netflix was always there, but the rise of Apple TV and Amazon, and now with Paramount involved and HBO, there's such a big opportunity still. There's a lot of competition and that so-called streaming war, but seeing how these verticals develop and got involved, and how do you leverage your content portfolio. That was all the stuff that I really enjoyed doing with Disney, and I was thrilled to, be part of a major launch. Working with Disney Plus, 11 months before that hit the market. Back that November. It was yeah, it was crazy, but that was fun, and very, very fun industry to work in. I still love it, and I still do lots of consulting calls because of the crazy marketplace and all the rights changing, and what the industry is looking like, what the outlook is in 2024, 2025, who's gonna be the king of the hill, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, media rights in sports could be a whole episode by itself. Can talk about that for hours. That's such an interesting aspect as well.
Right.
And you mentioned Netflix, and their CEO Ted Sarandos said that they are not anti-sport; they're just pro-profit on the topic that they are not going into live sports. They are more doing the documentaries. They are doing Drive to Survive. They're doing the tennis, the golf. They're doing the Beckham documentary. So live
Yep.
yeah, go on.
No, don't let me cut you off. You go on. I thought that you were at the end. I had a thing with the Netflix and live sports that I'll answer when you're finished.
No, I was just gonna say where do you see the live streaming going? But go ahead with yours.
Yeah, I think Netflix is already starting to get into live streams. You saw that around, or what they're planning for the Formula One race in Las Vegas, and some of the ancillary events. They're dabbling. I think I've seen lately that they're not opposed. Obviously, it gets to be an expensive proposition, live sports, to win over the rights, but there's some niche sports, and there's some opportunities where I think they realize that they got to get involved. They've done the documentaries. They're really engrossing. I'm watching with my son and my wife the Beckham documentary on Netflix. There's all sorts of powerful brands and personalities that uh, can be featured nicely, and it works with the rest of the Netflix portfolio. So I don't see them staying away from live sports too long. In fact, I think we're going to start seeing, like, some maybe small steps into that arena, from Netflix. They're certainly not afraid to be progressive. I know that they had lost some subscribers, but the way the economy is right now, they don't want to be the ones that don't have any sort of live sports rights, with all the competition, and their and a lot of European and Asian influenced sports coming to America. It would not be good for their business bottom line, I think, if they abstain from getting involved on the live sports side of things.
That's interesting. And I mean, to his point, Sharon, those with that they are pro-profit, the media rights have been the price of that is so inflated, right? It's like a bidding war, and you need to cough up a big chunk of money in order to get these media rights for the big leagues in, like, let's say Premier League, English Premier League or MLS or whatever it is.
Right. I think then it comes down to ROI, or slicing and dicing, to have a different piece, whether you're the full-on primary stakeholder in the live rights, or you share that cost elsewhere. But the ability to monetize off those rights, and really kind of feed a new vertical, or get involved with gaming, or just working with those immersive explorers in your community. Obviously sports is so many different touch points now. It's not just showing up and watching a game, or watching from home on the streaming platform it is, but there's so many other ways to connect the dots. So live sports, though they can be pricey, certainly at the high levels, there are ways to share that cost, and really have a longer term look into making that heavy investment, because it could really be powerful on a number of different categories to generate momentum and ROI for other things that you have outlined for the company.
But do you see the big companies, like the big media companies, taking charge and still having the rights? Or because you mentioned OTT, some clubs want to have their own streaming platform and you pay a subscription to watch their games. How do you see the industry moving?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good mix where your legacy companies, your brands that know how to tell the story, and they have that expertise, they're going to hold on to that. I don't think they're going to have full on ownership of the rights. You could see just from the NFL, because of the cost. I mean, you're talking about 4, 5, 6 different media and tech companies that have the live sports on different days, and it's really a novel approach. I think a lot of the other teams, a lot of the other leagues and sports are looking at having multiple stakeholders and really having a streaming solution, an OTT, something linear, of course, which even though as much as linear, there's a lot of cord cutting going on, there's still a good audience there that helps the business with cross promotion and real opportunities to tailor content to maybe an older generation of fans. I also see with technology and gaming and esports, there's going to be other platforms that have some exclusivity. So really, in short, I see a new company or one that's not afraid to make a significant investment, getting key pieces or some days of the week that if the game's to be consumed, it has to be on their platform. But there's going to be probably 2 or 3 or 4 different ways to slice up games for some of the bigger leagues. The way that the expenses are with around rights, but also even in these niche sports as they fully develop, and there's an audience that wants that content.
Interesting. I want to start from your personal story and how you got into sport. You have mentioned you're an Islanders fan, you're a hockey fan, you studied sports in school, sports management, right? Also, I think so. How did it start from the very beginning? What's your first sporting memory?
Well, so I grew up on a dead-end street in suburban Long Island. I think there were 12 houses on the block. All of them had kids my age. So we were all playing sports. We're talking football, soccer, hockey. We made a little rink, spray painted lines for hockey. So we were all hockey fans. We played deck hockey, rode our bikes. It was a good, vibrant, active community of sports fans, kids that played sports. But I grew up in a house where my dad was a sports fanatic, always had a big game on. We were, Giants. I would go to Giants games with a buddy of mine. His dad had season tickets. My dad had season tickets to the New York Islanders through his company. So I remember, I'm old enough to remember the Islanders' glory days, their dynasty. I had to drive for 5 finger as they were going for their 5th Stanley Cup against the vaunted Edmonton Oilers with Gretzky and Messier and Fuhr and Lowe and Curie. There's a lot of memories of my days at Nassau Coliseum as a young kid, but also going a day camp to Shea Stadium where the Mets used to play, watching Boston Celtic games with my dad. My dad and mom lived in Massachusetts for a little bit, even though they're native New Yorkers. But so I grew up a big Celtics, Mets, Islanders, New York Giants fan, between watching all the games and playing the different sports with my friends, and then having the good fortune to go to games and see some wins. You know, in '86, the Mets won, the Giants won. The Islanders were just coming out of their dynasty. But I've gotten to see, and obviously the Celtics were very successful in the '80s. There, I've gotten to see and experience some big wins and the joys of winning it all. And that's how I really became like a, you know, a little bit of not a little bit of, but definitely a sports enthusiast, a big fanatic, someone that has like an encyclopedia of knowledge around all the key events, the celebrities, the major players, who won, who lost, the little trivial things, the rules, the regulations of all these sports. You know, I can stay agnostic. Obviously, I spent a significant time in hockey and watching hockey and being an Islanders fan for all these years, but my love of sport runs deep. I love playing golf. I love playing tennis. I love running. All of those are big into my journey.
Yeah. And now it's cool because now you can relive this with your kids, right? Because I heard, I think in another interview, they asked like about your favorite memory. And you mentioned that there was your son's first hockey game. They featured a meet and greet with some Islanders icons.
Yeah, so right, that's on the Rikodi website. Yeah, one of my favorite memories is so when the Islanders were playing in Brooklyn, I went in on some season tickets with a group of people, and they knew that, you know, I was an ardent hockey and Islanders fan, and I had just started. My kids were both old enough to start going to games, so one of the games that I went to um, was when they pulled all the Stanley Cup banners down, and they had I guess 5 or 6 of their esteemed alumni come and do a meet and greet. And this was literally my son Archie's first game. I think he was 3 years old at the time, and we waited, you know, for the game to be over, and then another 30 minutes for them to set up, and then, you know, got some extra concessions. I think as a perk, it was like they were giving away like candy and popcorn, whatever. It was a really cool thing. And then we waited in line to go down into the ice to do a meet and greet and do some portraits with the legends in front of the Stanley Cup banners. And it wasn't, thankfully, it wasn't the first time that I had met a lot of the NHL, the Islanders alumni. I had actually done some interviews with these guys over the years and met them at other tentpole events. But for my son to be lifted into the air by Bobby Nystrom and meet these guys, and now I show him these photos, like that's a great first memory and something that he can appreciate now as he learns about sport and he watches Islander games and other soccer games with me. Is like not too many people have that ability. You have autograph sessions and stuff like that, but that was really cool experience. So yeah, I love my son and my daughter playing sports. My daughter plays volleyball. My son's big into soccer. I'm one of his sort of volunteer coaches, but I take them all over, whether they're doing a tryout. I love seeing them being very enthusiastic about sports. I think it's not only good for themselves and perseverance and trying hard, but mental health and teamwork. Being active is really good. We live in the city in Manhattan, and we get them out to the parks all the time because it's easy to be stuck at home and enjoy the confines of home and technology and being in front of a screen. But to me, you got to experience life, and a lot of that is being active, playing sports, and having some fun with some friends, and that all kind of comes back to why I love and I'm passionate about sports and the experiences, the joys, the drama, all of that. It's kind of tied together.
Yeah. That's I agree with you 100%. Like there's what sports can give you is like endless, as you mentioned, like overcoming adversity and physical health, mental health, and so forth. So it's really important.
You got to keep yourself in good shape too. It's like,
Yeah.
so even the nutritional part of that, and like, making sure that you got a good, comfortable fit in jersey and all this other stuff. Right? Yes, absolutely, Marcus.
Exactly. So uh, on your social media handles, you included number 16. Is that some favorite player or where
Yeah,
did that
guys.
come from?
Yeah, that's a good. That came from Pat LaFontaine, Mr. One of the young Islanders at the time. Just he got to the team just as they were on the tail end of their dynasty. And actually, I got to meet Pat LaFontaine a couple of times, and then he worked at NHL headquarters when I was there too. He was doing more like, yeah, community service relations kind of work, and he's always been active with his charities. And there's a chance that actually might do some more connecting with Pat LaFontaine through his nonprofit work, because I've been involved with the Sports Philanthropy Network, and I love giving back to sports for all the reasons I just discussed. But yeah, the 16 comes from number 16, Pat LaFontaine. Also, Dwight Gooden was I'm a Met fan. I got to meet Dwight Gooden actually several months ago. That's funny. But yeah, 16's always had resonance with me, and that's why it's part of my handle.
I see. And yeah, you mentioned connecting. You have obviously you have met a lot of players, but also, a lot of people from the industry. So how would you say, what is the importance of networking?
Oh, networking is something, to be honest, that I wish I had done from the very moment I left college through now, because when I was working with the NHL and in corporate America, I worked with some big companies, and I was friendly and made a lot of connections with people across multiple departments and even at the team level. But when you do leave those organizations, you not that you lose the connection, but there's a wide opportunity of folks that you could have been talking to in the years. So I was connected to really one brand, through three different companies for 22 years. So I wasn't doing too much networking other than meetings, or when I was working a Stanley Cup final game, or the Winter Classic, or the draft, or something like that. So, but that was always in the folks that work at the NHL or with that brand. So when you leave that world, networking is gigantic. I see people that I meet for the first time, or were running in a similar circle to me, and they have, you know, 5x more connections than I do, because they've kind of stayed independent, or they've consulted all this time, and I've seen the power. But networking, competition is good. Competition brings validation. I see that there's more opportunities to collaborate. There's plenty of money out there for folks to work together, build some partnerships. You can build your own sort of personal board around you, people that keep you accountable and you could support on. So you get that through networking, or talking to friends or family members and people that you trust. But also, when you network and you keep on running into the same people, you realize that they're wired very similar to you, and there's a good amount of appreciation for how much time and effort you're putting into things, and that you can kind of thrive together. So I think the network is important. You always want to keep a robust, strong network, and be able to you know, call on someone or lean on someone, have people that are helping you with outreach or keep you top of mind. So that's really what I enjoy, when either if I'm at home working or I'm attending an event. You always want to network. You always want to make good use of your time when you're conducting business, trying to get the word out, meet people, understand, what they're doing, and maybe you can, collaborate and be good resources for each other.
Yeah, for sure. So on the topic of networking, who from your network do you think would be a good guest for this podcast?
Wow. Jeez. I would say I'd have to look to some of the folks that have been around more than I have. Like if I have 25 years, I love talking and listening to people that have 30 or 35 years experience, whether they were more of a mentor to me. But yeah, I have probably 5 or 10 names of people that I think you get a thrill talking to. They're good communicators, people that are involved in some great ventures themselves. But they're friends that I had initially made back in the NHL that now have consulted on their own for like 15 or 20 years.
Sounds interesting. Before we sign off here, any final words, something I've missed to ask? And also, how can the listeners reach out to you? We mentioned that your social media handles included were number 16, but more exactly, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so I think you and I first got connected through LinkedIn, which seemingly everybody does. But so on LinkedIn, yeah, Darryl Haberman, or my consulting practice is Haberman Consulting. I'm pretty responsive. I know that I never want to leave anyone hanging, even if it's just like, hey, I got a quick question or something like that. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out, connect, follow me on LinkedIn first and foremost. But my practice, HabermanDigital.com is the domain. Haberman Consulting, my practice. We have a website. Can book on my calendar, complimentary, sync up. Happy to spend 15-30 minutes getting to know your business and telling you how I think I can help. But I'd love to be a resource. But really, those things. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter, or X. I'm sorry. I'm never too far from one of those platforms, and in fact, look forward to starting some conversations there.
That's awesome. Darryl, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Sports Management Podcast.
Thank you so much, Marcus. I enjoyed it.